Peterson. How are you doing today? How are you doing today, Matt? Today's matchup features the Brighton Bengals versus the Viewmont Vikings, a Davis County team and a Salt Lake County team looking to advance to the semifinals of the 5A UHSAA tournament. Let's take a break for the national anthem.
Let's meet the starting lineup for visiting team today, the Viewmont.
God bless America. All right. Viewmont High School and Brighton High School today, bringing down the starting lineups right now. Viewmont High School is led by McKay Johnson. He averages 7.43 points a game. McKay Richens, who averages 9.13 points a game, and Michael Steinecke, who averages 4.87 points a game. The Vikings went 12-10 in the regular season and 6-4 in Region 2. They are the third-place region team. Matt, why don't you break down Brighton for us?
Brighton's they're a team that came back strong this season. They lost in the state title game last year to Lone Peak, and other than a couple of key losses, they really haven't shown a lot of a drop-off. This team is hoping to come up with a rematch against the Knights. The Knights are heavily favored to keep advancing. If they do, Brighton could potentially have that state title rematch, although it would be in the next round and not the state title game. So Brighton kind of looking forward, but hopefully not too much to the point where they're looking ahead of this game.
And of course, the story of this tournament, and really in the state right now in terms of in-state hoops, is Lone Peak High School. That matchup is coming up today at 4:10 p.m., and we're going to be streaming that live here on KSL.com and DeseretNews.com. I'm going to be on the color today. Matt Peterson here is going to be on the play-by-play, and we're just getting ready to tip this off. Matt, looking at this matchup today, who do you think has the top edge? What are the players you think are going to be influential in the outcome of this one?
You know, it's really hard to ignore Brighton. They've got guys who do a lot, and they've got guys who do the little things to make them win. Again, they lost some talent from last year, but they really haven't dropped off because a lot of different guys are stepping up. You mentioned Brandon Miller. He's kind of their big shot scoring option. He's averaging around 20 points a game, and a lot of that comes from three-point shooting. You expect him to hit a lot early. Also, Travis DeVashere, he is really going to get threat as well. But again, expect a lot of the role players to step up. This is far from a one or even a two or three-man show.
All right, here we go. We're tipping this off. Brighton and Viewmont.
So Viewmont starting off with a 2-3 zone in this game. Brighton's going to have to figure out how to do that. And Landon, we see a lot of this 2-3 zone, especially when they're trying to stop teams that have offensive flow.
No doubt. There's a shot and a make.
So no trouble at all for Brighton breaking down that zone in the early going. We'll see if Viewmont sticks with it. Viewmont again coming in as one of the underdogs. There were 3 seeds. They did upset a number 2 seed in the first round. They're hoping to keep that streak going. They ended the season on a high note with 2 wins, and then obviously the first round win over Northridge. They're trying to work it out right now with Brighton playing a man-to-man defense, swinging the ball, trying to find an opening. So far, no show, though.
Brighton working it out near the top of the key. They're just swinging around the perimeter a lot here, Matt.
They really are, and now they're going to settle for that wing three-pointer. It's up,
and
off.
Nice. Shot was taken by McKay Richens. Missed that one. There's a shot in the paint, up high.
McKay Richens, no good on that one.
McKay Johnson with the rebound.
So, Landon, these teams are really not they're not being hesitant in taking the shots that they feel they should take in the early going. And
no, they're not. Brighton has been able to convert on one of those. And really, I think Brighton is looking to play it into the key. Here's a baseline jumper. Michael Steinecke with that one, missed off the rim. Going to go in the other way. The high post, now swinging out the left side. Here's a three-pointer on the way. It's up, and it's good.
And, against that zone defense, that's going to be there all day. That zone is going to give up those wing threes, and it's a hard shot to make. It's a contested shot, but Bryce Callahan not wasting any time knocking that one down. Viewmont's got to try and respond here. They're down 5-0 in the early going, and in these 8-minute quarters, you really can't afford to get behind too much too early in this game.
Jason Ty, now left side, Michael Steinecke. Viewmont looking to swing it around the post. There's a three-pointer on the way. It's up. It's no good. That was McKay Butler with that rebound. There's an offensive rebound and put back. Jerem Ty, excuse me, not Jason. That was Jerem Ty with the 2 points.
And so we've seen these teams, both of them, settle for these wing three-pointers. Here's another one on the way, and Callahan drains it.
Callahan with the big three-pointer on the right-hand side. And there's a timeout by Viewmont. Brighton's jumped out to an 8-2 lead, and it is... They obviously don't want to let this continue. They don't want the wheels to come off this train early.
Yeah, again, you can't afford to get behind early. These are short quarters, especially with the way these teams are playing. Pretty up-tempo. They're not waiting a while. But it's interesting. We've already seen these teams not hesitate to take that wing three-pointer, even though it's one of the most difficult shots to make.
Absolutely, and you've got to think that Brighton has a little bit of an edge moving it down into the post. They've had a couple of those jump shots in the paint, and they're going to be looking to set up their big men down low. But credit Jerem Ty here for Viewmont with that offensive rebound putback.
They're going to need a lot of that if they keep taking perimeter jumpers. There's going to be rebounds to be had, and that kind of dirt working. Obviously, it endears you to the coaches, but it wins you a lot of games that sometimes maybe you shouldn't win, and it gives you a chance, especially in games like this where you don't get off to the start that you want.
All right, Viewmont to inbound after the timeout. Inbounds it. McKay Butler with the ball, hands it off. Now McKay Johnson with the ball. Viewmont crossing over, across the timeline.
Brighton sticking with that man-to-man defense. And so far, obviously, it's worked pretty well for him.
Down to Steinecke. Great give and go by Steinecke. He puts up the two. Or excuse me, that was McKay Butler. Butler with the driving layup. Brighton the other way now. Out front. Bryce Callahan. Now to Brandon Miller.
Steinecke is not one of their primary options for Viewmont, but he had a great game in the first round. 8 points, 6 boards, 4 assists. So he's proved that he can kind of step up if the team needs him to do so. And certainly Viewmont does need that here in the early going.
Brandon Miller with the crossover. Takes a shot, but he is fouled. He'll go to the line and shoot two.
Miller really looking for contact there. Probably not a high percentage shot, but felt his defender was close up enough on him to make that contact, and he was rewarded for it.
Definitely. You knew going up with that shot. It was an off-balance shot leaning to the right. He was looking for the foul. Makes the first. Brandon Miller to shoot one more. Bengals leading the Vikings 9-4, 3.5 minutes into the first quarter.
Miller was on fire in their first round win over Pleasant Grove. 20 points to come in second in scoring for Brighton. So he really knows how to fill it up. And
Viewmont going to stretch the court. Goes down low, and it's blocked. What a block there. What a block there by Brighton's Bryce Callahan. Taking none of that business.
Landon Callahan getting it done on both ends. We've seen a couple threes, and now the block.
Viewmont to inbound. Swinging it around the perimeter again. They're really having a hard time establishing anything against this man-to-man defense. Now up top. Viewmont going to shoot a three-pointer. It's on the way, and it's good. McKay Johnson with that three-pointer.
That was a big time three. Again, they're having to settle for these jumpers, not able to get anything inside against that man-to-man defense.
Callahan with the ball. He's going to dribble drive. He's going to lay it up. He's going to score it.
By my count, that's 8 points for Callahan.
Actually, that was Brandon Miller. My mistake. Brandon Miller with the deuce. 12-7, Bengals. There's a tipped ball. Looking to penetrate. Lost the handle on it. He's going to recover.
Not a lot of movement here for Viewmont.
They are looking for a recovery. And now here's the outlet. Fast break. There's a layup and almost the one. Zach Bernardo with that dribble drive, and he almost was rewarded for the three-point play. Couldn't quite get it done.
Landon, Viewmont really didn't have a lot going on that offensive possession. A lot of standing around. They let their man get caught in the corner. There's got to be more ball movement, especially screening against a man-to-man. You can really find opportunities that way.
We saw that earlier with that give and go. It was a wide-open play. Great play for them. They need to do more of that. First free throw is good by Zach Bernardo.
That said, despite Viewmont's early game struggles, they're not down by a lot in the early going, even though the play would suggest that they might be. Not the case.
That's true. Jerem Ty with the rebound. Handed off here to McKay Johnson. Johnson goes right side, and he tosses it out of bounds. It's a turnover. It's going to be Bengal basketball heading the other way. That's 2 straight possessions with turnovers.
And those are killer, especially with Viewmont trying to claw their way back in this game. They're still only down 6, but that is not going to help them.
Brandon Miller. Ball goes off the leg of Jerem Ty. He's going to hold on to it, and Jerem Ty turns it over in transition. Couldn't get it done. Miller going the other way. He's going to take it all the way to the hole. It's up. It's good. Brandon Miller for 2.
Tell you what, Miller's craftiness around the rim is something to watch, isn't it? That is just a big-time move, and he's had a couple of those already.
15-7, Vikings lead with 2:37 remaining. Jerem Ty right side. Down into the post on the block. McKay Richens working the post. He's going to pump fake, shoot it up, miss it left side. Viewmont gets an offensive rebound. Back to Richens, swinging out on the perimeter. Now Ty has it. Now McKay Johnson right side, straight away. Now left side. Richens looking to go down the post again. Post move, fall back, lead to Leaner. It's good.
Great assertive move.
McKay Johnson with those 2 points. Quickly, Brighton coming the other way. Brandon Miller looking to dribble drive, looking for a pass. He's going to put it back out on the perimeter.
That was just a great assertive move in the low post. Didn't waste any time. Didn't worry about it. Went right to his go-to move, and it paid off.
Nice touch as well. Oh, backdoor cut. Brandon Miller looking for the foul. The ref won't call it. And now, after the fact, Jerem Ty gets tangled up with Brandon Miller. Not sure of the call, if it's going to be a foul or what.
I think that was just a warning from the official. No foul was signaled, but Jerem Ty, he is irate. He feels that there was something not called on the box out, and he followed that up with a little extra activity below the rim himself.
A little bit of English on that one.
Little bit.
Into the game, Brock Miller for Brighton and Kelton Hirsch for Viewmont. Here comes Hirsch, bringing it across the timeline. Going right side. Into the corner. Looks for an outlet. Looks for some help. Finds it underneath. There's a layup shot. No good. No tip. No good. And Brighton comes down with the rebound. Devashri with the rebound. And Devashri is going to shoot it from deep. Off the front of the iron. Offensive rebound. Up again. No good. Ball still loose. Brighton gets another rebound. That's a travel. And a turnover. Zach Bernardo took a little bit too many steps before he made his move.
You know what I liked about that previous possession from Viewmont? I really liked how their player got caught in the corner, but someone else moved to provide help. The previous time that happened, nobody was moving. There was no help provided. They got stuck. It was a turnover. This time, somebody came in to help. They actually got a good shot, just couldn't sink it. So,
Viewmont at this point needs points. I mean, Brighton is up 17-9 with a minute less than the first quarter. They really need a bucket here. Viewmont working left side. Here's Ty in the post. He's going to go up strong with it. Bounces it off the backboard, no good, and here comes Brighton going the other way. Looking for the post, and there's the conversion. Brock Miller with the 2 points in the lane on the fast break. Bengals lead the Vikings 19-9 with 53 seconds left in the first quarter. We got a timeout. How does Viewmont work their way back into this one?
You know, again, I think they just need to get into the habit of moving without the ball, especially when the ball handler is being pressured as much as they are. Brighton is really applying pressure. You can tell they're trying to run as often as they can. But if Viewmont can keep moving off the ball, they should be able to get some decent looks against a man-to-man defense. But right now it's either been no movement or some contested shots. Now they've been able to stay into it with some contested makes, but up to now just not enough to really keep pace with Brighton.
And on the other end of the ball, you notice that a lot of these points from Brighton has come by way of the transition offense. Viewmont really needs to make sure that when they when a ball's turned over, they're all really trying really hard to get back and put on the transition defense to avoid easy buckets for the Bengals.
You got to give credit to Brighton, though. They're really finding the guys who are up on the break. They're advancing the ball without too much dribbling. That last shot by Brock Miller was a great pull-up. So Brighton really working the transition game well.
Kelton Hirsch brings the ball up across the timeline to Ty in the high post. Contact, no call. Hirsch is going to go baseline. Triple teamed. Ball is loose. Brighton recovers. It's another turnover. It's Brock Miller with that turnover. Into the paint. Zach Bernardo. Bernardo, leap and leaner. Up and good. Zach Bernardo with the 2 points.
That was a big league move and a great save by Miller on the other end. He's really come off the bench to give Brighton a spark and push this lead to double digits.
Viewmont now going with a different guard, bringing it across the timeline. There's a three-pointer. Hirsch off the front of the rim. Offensive rebound, puts it back up, and good. Michael Steinecke with 2 points there. Bengals lead 21-11 with 5 seconds left in the first quarter. He's going to have to throw some up here. Makes a move, spin move, throws it up at the buzzer, and it's good. Zach Bernardo with the late penetration spin cycle puts Brighton up 23-11 to end the first quarter.
Bernardo with a couple big league moves to end that quarter. The two pivot steps down in the paint, and then that layup to end the quarter. You know, they've had different guys step up in different phases of that first quarter, kind of taking over, and lo and behold, they're up by 12.
It's, I would say that the Vikings need to step it up if they're going to be competitive in this game at all.
It's true. Again, Viewmont is they're either settling for that long contested three-pointer, or they're just turning the ball over. So they really need to just get their offense on the same page. I'm sure their coach is talking about that right now. But Brighton. Maybe it's something about playing the Vikings. They played Pleasant Grove and beat them by 15, and now they're facing another Vikings team. But if this Vikings group is going to come back, they really need to communicate on offense, because right now, just not happening. Brighton playing fantastic ball on both ends.
We want to thank the sponsors for today's event. Riverton Chevrolet, of course, is a sponsor of all of the streaming on DeseretNews.com. Thank you for that support. Getting set to start the second quarter. It will be Viewmont ball out of bounds at the end of the court. Again, a reminder, we're going to be live here from the D Event Center pretty much all day long. Next up, we've got Lone Peak, and then later this evening, we've got a couple of other high-profile matchups here in 5A. Syracuse and American Fork, and Alta and Weber. These games will be going till 9 p.m. Comes Devashri. Or no, it's Brandon Miller, excuse me. Handoff to Miller. He's going to move baseline. He's going to put up the baseline jumper, and it's good. Brandon Miller. He's really stepping it up here, Matt.
He really is. He's getting what he wants, but it's because of his offensive creativity. It's not like Viewmont isn't contesting. He is just that good offensively.
He's really good off the dribble. Ty down the lane. Has a great play, great pass.
McKay Butler finishing on that one.
Finishing that one.
And, that's got to be their first easy make they've had all game.
Now going baseline. Ooh, there's a foul. So Osa Messina, the strong move on the baseline, and he gets the foul call. He's going to shoot, too.
Now, you can really tell that Viewmont probably talked about ball movement during the break between the first and the second quarter, because that came off a beautiful cut to the rim. They got an easy layup as a result. And against a man-to-man defense, that's what you can get. So Viewmont will probably try and look to get more of the same on the next few possessions, get into a rhythm.
Will certainly help them out. Messina for the second, and it's good. Also, Messina hits both, and now Brighton leading Viewmont 27-13 at the 7:13 mark of the first quarter, or second quarter, pardon me. Viewmont coming the other way. Steinecke up top now to McKay Butler. Butler, three-pointer right side, no good. That was Jerem Ty on the three-pointer. Tries to chase down the rebound. Bengal basketball on the baseline.
McKay Butler leads the team in three-point goals made. He's made 36 so far this season. That's including their first-round game. So he is not afraid to hoist that thing up, and he can make them too.
Brock Miller brings it down the high post. Brandon Miller. Miller makes a move, takes a shot, no good. Here's a three-pointer on the wing. It's up, no good, off the rim. Here comes Viewmont the other way.
He was going for the lob there on the entry pass. Didn't happen, though.
Kay Johnson on the spin move. He's going up for the shot. Osa Messina is going to be called for that foul.
Yeah, on that previous play, looking for the lob to the rolling big man underneath. But I don't know if he lost his handle on it, if it slipped off his hands or what. But did not go to the intended target. Accidentally got a good look out of it, though. Just didn't go down.
So now McKay Johnson going to shoot two. First he's good. 27-14. Brighton leading this game with 6:31 remaining. Johnson with the second free throw. It's good. Brock Miller to bring the ball up court.
Good start to the quarter, though, for Viewmont. An easy bucket, a couple free throws. It's a much better start.
Ooh, what a pass. Down low to Messina. It's up and it's good. What a pass out there on the perimeter. Didn't even bring it down. He just touched it right down to Messina. Saw he was wide open underneath.
Beautiful ball movement. Brighton is getting a lot of easy shots because they're executing. And it's really beautiful basketball to watch.
Viewmont coming the other way. Butler under pressure. Now to Steineke. Steineke's going to go right to Johnson. Now up top to Richens. McKay Richens. Now to Steineke. Now back to Richens. Jerem Ty now. McKay Johnson. There's a shot on the way by Steineke, and it's good. 29-17.
Once again, ball movement. They were patient. They got the open jumper that time. Not a contested one. Great offense from Viewmont once again. Now they need to stop.
Brock Miller with the move in the paint. He'll go up, lay it up and in. Brock Miller for two. It was a really strong move there on the baseline. To me, it looked like it was a travel by Brandon Miller. No call, and Brock Miller gets the driving layup for two.
You know, credit Brock Miller for being ready off the bench. He has really just done everything you would want from a key reserve. He's provided a lift offensively, defensively, doing a lot of good things out there.
Steineke for two. It's good. There are three McKays on this Viewmont team. Three different McKays. McKay Johnson, McKay Richens, and McKay Butler. Two of them started. Brandon Miller now up top. He's going to move towards the high angle. Can't find anything, passes it off. Down the low post. Oh, what a move. What a move. No shot. Oh, I don't know about that one.
Look, you know, it's hard to tell from our angle. We were on the opposite side of the floor, about halfway up the bowl, but it's possible he shifted that pivot foot, but it did look like a major league move, and he's been pulling those off in the game. So hard for us to tell, but the ref makes the call, and Viewmont gets a much-needed stop. They've been scoring now, and they needed a stop to actually cut into this lead instead of just keeping pace.
Tremaine Nixon now in for the Bengals with 4:33 remaining. It's Bengals 31, Vikings 19. Viewmont down by 12. Here comes McKay Johnson. Johnson up top to Richens. Right side. Now up top to Ty. Ty's going to pull up for three. Off the iron. Brighton chases down the rebound. It's Devashri to Miller. Hands it off to the other Miller. Brandon Miller puts up a running leap and leaner, can't get it to go. Here comes McKay Johnson the other way. Down to McKay Butler. Back to Butler up top. On the corner, here's a pull-up three-pointer on the way, off the iron again. They're not moving the ball, Matt.
That's a contested jumper. They're kind of reverting back to that first quarter offense where they're just not getting those open looks, and they're settling for those contested jumpers. First three possessions of the quarter, they didn't do it. Now they are, and they're not scoring.
Zach Bernardo with the driving layup attempt gets stripped away and ball's out of bounds. He'll inbound the ball. Look for it. Gets the ball in. Devashri. Now back to Bernardo up top. Bernardo to Miller. Right side. Devashri on the release. He goes up.
Oh, my!
Oh, McKay Richens with the block.
Tell you what, that That is saying a big statement in the paint. You are not coming in here. Come back later, please, and talk to me then. Great block.
Set the table and stuff me a turkey. He got stuffed.
Oh, my goodness.
There's a missed layup there.
Brighton's head coach screaming for contact on that one. Looked like there was no call.
That was Tremaine Nissen who missed that one. Now up top, Austin Johnson. Right side to it. Now down low in the post. Austin Johnson looking for something, can't find anything. Takes it back outside to McKay Johnson. Down low in the post, Jerem Ty looks for something, can't get it to go. Tries to get the rebound, and it comes away to Zach Bernardo. Brighton on the break. Bernardo, he's going to drive, he's going to take it up himself. Lay it up and in. Coast to coast.
What a move by Bernardo. On the flip side, Jerem Ty, he's got to be frustrated. He's one of their top scorers. I think he's their leading scorer, in fact. And he just can't find the bottom of the net. But there's a lot of game left, but this lead is starting to grow.
Three-pointer on the way. Ooh, it's an air ball. 33-19, Brighton with the lead with 2:32 remaining. That was McKay Butler, that shot, that errant shot.
You know, Brighton may be the favorite team, but Viewmont's got a far bigger fan base here visiting. Viewmont got a great showing here. Roughly twice the size of the Brighton Student Fellowship that I can see.
In transition. Here comes Viewmont, crossover. He's going to go up with the foul. Oh, and the basket doesn't convert. Austin Johnson with that steal and attempted coast-to-coast move. It's a tough break, but fortunately he's going to get to go to the foul line.
You know, again, Viewmont keeping pace in this quarter. They're doing enough to kind of hang around. Some free throws. Their offense has been better. It still needs to improve, but they're keeping pace. Now I just think they need to come up with some more defensive stops. We saw the big block on the other end.
We saw the steal as well. The problem is down coming the other way. He just couldn't convert on that three-point play attempt the old-fashioned way.
Yeah,
he did get to the line. Credit to him for getting to the line, but also credit the Brighton defense for not just letting him have those points.
Absolutely. They've been playing great interior defense.
Misses the second free throw. And here comes Brighton the other way. Bernardo across midcourt. The right side, or left side, Brock Miller. Oh, tried for the alley-oop, Brock Miller did, but couldn't get it to go. They're coming the other way. Hirsch. Right side three-pointer, no good. Rebound to Miller, Brandon Miller. Miller coming across midcourt. Pull-up three-pointer, Miller, in and out. Rebound, Viewmont. Hirsch controls the ball. Very smart move by Hirsch there. Now right side, back up top to Hirsch. Minute 40 remaining in the half. Brighton up by 13. Down low in the post. Off the glass and in. That's Viewmont's McKay Johnson. Now going the other way. Devashri hits the bottom of the backboard. Gets his own rebound. Looks for something. Ball's loose. And it's a turnover.
Big opportunity for a swing here for Viewmont. They've come up with consecutive stops. Can they capitalize?
McKay Johnson to Hirsch. Now left side. McKay Butler. Back up top. Now right side to McKay Johnson. Goes for a pass. McKay Johnson's going to hold for a second. 1 minute remaining in the half. Now down low. Tipped away by Brock Miller. It's out of bounds for Viewmont basketball.
You know, Austin Johnson was assuming he'd be there. He wasn't. You gotta make sure the guy's there, even if it is a set play that works 99% of the time.
Credit Brock Miller, though, for getting back on the defensive end.
He has had a couple possessions now. He's played great interior defense to deny what would have been easy looks.
Jerem Ty checking back into the game for McKay Johnson. Ty looking for Hirsch, can't find him. They're just going to inbound this one over the top to Steineke. Steineke back in the game now. Kelton Hirsch. Now left side to Austin Johnson. To Ty. Double team. Three-pointer on the way by Hirsch. It's good! Nothing but net.
Huge three-pointer for Viewmont.
Viewmont has pulled back within 8. 37 seconds remaining. It's 33-25 for the Bengals.
They have trailed well into double digits by 14 at one point. This is a huge way to close out the half. If they can get a stop here, keep this thing under double digits.
Steineke. Bernardo. Bernardo, he's going to penetrate. Goes right by Hirsch. It goes off his leg. Oh, they're going to say it went off Viewmont, and it's going to stay here with 16 seconds left. Got to think that if that had that gone the other way, it would have been huge for Viewmont.
It's true. Viewmont's coach gesturing to the outside ref on the opposite side. Not sure he had the best angle for it, but at this point, every call is worth fighting for.
So here we go. 16 seconds left. Zach Bernardo is going to inbound it. Looking for something low. Can't find it. Oh, he found it. Found his man in the post. Swing it out. Three-pointer on the way. It's good.
It's a two-pointer.
They're going to call it a two. Devashri. McKay Johnson coming the other way. Johnson with the long pull-up three-pointer as the half ends. And that's the halftime score. Brighton leading Viewmont by 10, 35-25. Matt, your thoughts on that first half?
You know, Viewmont did a really great job. They had a very poor start to the game, especially on offense. No offensive flow, a lot of contested threes. Did a little more of that, more or less. Improved a little bit in the early going the second quarter. Then really just started playing great basketball. And that's why they were within 8 before that jumper to end the half that put Brighton up 10. So they have the momentum now. Viewmont needs to realize they have got the momentum, and they can take that into the second half.
It's really, really encouraging to see Viewmont come down here and not only make some defensive stops on this end, but when they're getting the ball movement on this other end, on the offensive end, they're able to make those cuts, make those passes into the lane, and get those easy baskets. It really helped them. It could help them swing this game, but really, Brighton has just been dominant. They've made great post moves, lots of penetration layups, and a few clutch three-pointers. Got to credit Bengals.
You know, the Bengals have had their guys step up, and I've already referenced this a couple times in the first half, but you know, I haven't seen a lot of Brighton this year, but I was really impressed with Brock Miller off the bench. He just really he added a spark in every sense. He had great interior defense, had a few shots, saved the loose ball going out of bounds, but everyone getting it done for Brighton, just kind of a lapse towards the end. They kind of settled in, didn't keep their foot on the gas, and that's why Viewmont was able to kind of make a game out of this before the half.
All right, we're going to take a break just so we can get some water and so you can enjoy the cheerleaders here at halftime. We'll be back at the start of the second half. Thank you for joining us here on KSL.com and DeseretNews.com. You're watching the UHSAA 5A tournament, Brighton Bengals versus the Viewmont Vikings. We'll be back in a moment. Welcome back to the D Event Center. Landon Hemsley alongside Matt Peterson. Getting ready to call the second half of this Brighton High School versus Viewmont High School basketball contest, quarterfinals of the UHSAA 5A basketball tournament. Matt, it looks pretty heavily tilted in Brighton's favor. They're leading the Vikings 35-25, and it looks like Viewmont's going to start with the ball out of bounds.
You know, again, I do want to stress that Viewmont had the momentum heading into halftime. They made the plays they needed to make it a game, had it down to 8. So we'll see if Viewmont can keep that momentum going through halftime. It's still kind of in Brighton's control, but Viewmont might be in the driver's seat. We'll see.
McKay Johnson now up top to McKay Richens. Back to Johnson. Johnson up top to Jerem Ty. He's Viewmont's leading scorer. Left side, they're moving it around the perimeter. Back to McKay Richens. Now talk to McKay Johnson. Side McKay Butler. Ball is loose, gets it back. Now to Ty. Richens with the three-point shot off the iron. Jerem Ty went up high for the rebound. And they're going to call the foul on Ty.
You know, contested three-pointer to start off the half, and you have to wonder if that's the shot Viewmont wanted. They weren't patient. They moved the ball around, but should they have done even more of that? Maybe.
That's Jerem Ty's second foul, by the way. Now coming the other way, Zach Bernardo. Off to Devashre. Now left side, Bryce Callahan. Up top to Brandon Miller, who's huge in the first half. He's going to drive the lane and lay it up and in.
You know, at first it was Callahan from the outside, and then Miller really just put on a show on the inside, and he's still doing it.
He is really, really good off the penetration.
He really is. He's got that sense of where to go with the ball and then how to contort his body to get a shot up.
Now straight away, McKay Richens. Now to McKay Butler. Now to Ty, straight away. And McKay Johnson, left angle. Ty moving the baseline. Triple team down low. He's going to go up anyways and just misses it. Zach Bernardo with the rebound. Coming the other way. Here comes Bernardo. He's going to push it down the lane. And it's turnover. Great eyes by Jerem Ty. Almost turned it over again. Zach Bernardo trying to get in that passing lane. Here comes Viewmont the other way. Kay Johnson. Now up top. Kay Butler. Now right side, Jerem Ty. Ty straight away. Johnson for three. Rims out. Devashere with the rebound. Here comes Zach Bernardo the other way. He's going to push it again. Drive the lane. Kick it out for a three-pointer. Brandon Miller on the way. It's good.
And Brighton just capitalizing on that three-point miss. Three-pointers lead to long rebounds and easy, fast breaks. Transition bucket.
That's 5 straight points by Brandon Miller. And now with 5:53 left in the third quarter, Bengals are starting to pull away from the Vikings. It's 40-25. Brighton has not, Viewmont hasn't scored yet in this.
You know what? McKay Johnson took a pretty decent look from three-pointer at the top of the key that last possession. Would love to see him go down in the post. We saw him in the post in that second quarter. He had a beautiful up and under move, and he's got a smaller defender on him, so we have to think it would be an easy bucket or two if he's down on the block, but instead it's been some contested jumpers, and Viewmont has nothing to show for it.
And you've got to think as well that with all that great movement and the buckets they did score in the first half off those give and goes and picks and rolls and other things, that there's got to be better ball movement, particularly as somebody's driving down the lane. Got to get a little bit more space for these Vikings to shoot the ball.
And as far as ball movement goes, I mean, how much better does it get than Brighton right now, whether it's in transition, in the half court? They are really looking for each other. They've had a couple turnovers because they're so eager to look for each other, but it's working out for them beautifully so far.
And their strategy of triple teaming Jerem Ty when he goes down here on the baseline, they just throw 3 defenders at him, and he's got to figure out a way to get it out to the open man when he's down there in the post. And triple team.
Scouting report, they know that Ty is their number one gun, and they planned that way, and you can tell.
All right, Johnson with the ball on the inbound. Johnson. Cross court to Butler. Butler up straight away. Down low. Great pass. Great ball movement. They broke that press. Steineke for 2. Comes Brandon Miller the other way. Miller. He's going to dribble drive. He's going to kick it out. Yes. Spin cycle move. Poked away. Gets the handle. Brock Miller in the game. And he gives it away. Here comes Viewmont in transition. Butler kicks it out for the three-pointer. Johnson holds it. And Viewmont will reset. Jerem Ty now. Looking for the pass. Dishes it off to Steineke. Johnson is posting up his man in the post. Jerem Ty going to work at left side now. Now back to Johnson. Guarded by Bernardo. Now right side. Back straight away. Now left side. Now Johnson in the left corner. Going to swing it around the perimeter again. Kay Butler to Johnson. Down low. Straight away to Jerem Ty. Head fake. Back left side to Austin Johnson. The other Johnson. We got
nothing going right now for Viewmont.
Penetration, leap and lean. And 1. Count the basket, and it's good. Great move by Michael Steineke. Just a great move.
And that's what you need to do. When nothing's going on offense, you need to make something happen. Viewmont had nothing going. They looked in the post a couple times, either couldn't get it there or got nothing from it. He made something happen, and Viewmont really needed that. They've had a poor start to this third quarter.
And there's the conversion for 3. Michael Steineke. Zach Bernardo is going to bring it across the timeline for Brighton. Bernardo. Pulls up. Looking for a pass. Finds it left side. Bryce Callahan. Straight away to Brock Miller. Gets blocked in the lane, but retains the ball. And they're going to call a timeout. Brighton calls a timeout. Vikings have put up 5 straight points now on a little mini run of their own.
And you know what? Austin Johnson has had 2 possessions in a row now where he has completely stopped that ball in the paint on defense. He's not very big, but he is keeping his body solid. He's getting position first, and he has really just kind of stalled that Brighton offense in the half court. So a couple of good plays from Austin Johnson.
Absolutely, especially with the length and the height of Brock Miller. He really didn't let Brock Miller have his way there in the lane.
Yeah, that's all about positioning because Brock Miller has a lot of altitude on Johnson, but because of the position that Johnson had, it didn't matter. Stop, and Brighton's calling timeout and talking this thing over.
We've got 4:19 remaining in the third quarter. A reminder, that the marquee matchup of the day, number 1 Lone Peak, number 1 nationally, Lone Peak. They'll be taking on Lone Peak will be taking on Davis at 4:10 this afternoon. Make sure you find a place to watch this one because this Lone Peak team is something to behold.
You know, and it's on DeseretNews.com, but the New York Times published an article, I believe it was this morning, about that Lone Peak team and just a phenomenon that they are, being from kind of a small community in Utah and taking this nation by storm. So we'll get a chance to see them up close later today.
It's going to be a fun time. But for now, we've got Brighton and Viewmont. Bernardo's going to inbound it.
It's a big defensive possession for Viewmont right here.
Pokes it away. They're going to rule it went out of bounds off of McKay Butler. Went out of bounds off of Steineke, and it's going to stay.
You know, again, this is a big defensive possession for Viewmont. If they can get another stop here and cut this lead to single digits, it would be huge.
Bernardo going around left side. He's got a wide open lane. He's going to lane it up, and it's good. Zach Bernardo with a great penetration and a great screen there by Bryce Callahan. Opened that wide open for Bernardo.
You know, it seems like if it's not Bernardo, it's Miller. If it's not Miller, it's Callahan. Brighton just has a lot of weapons going for them today.
Jerem Ty with a great drive down the lane. He'll lay it up and in. Jerem Ty for 2.
First clean look he's had all game. He's really struggled, but if he can wake up, Viewmont might have a better chance to make this thing really close.
Pull up three-pointer. Miller, no good. And they're going to call a foul going the other way. Over the back on Brock Miller. Cannot fault Brandon Miller for that confidence. Just the pull-up three-pointer, even though he didn't convert it. You can tell just by the way he's walking on the court, he's feeling it.
He is feeling it, and in their defense, that might be Brighton's first, semi-bad shot of the game. They've really executed well. Probably not what the coach had in mind, but you're right, he has been feeling it.
Johnson to Butler. Now right side Steineke jumper. Oh, in and out. It was halfway down. Gets the rebound up and good. Austin Johnson with that one.
You know, Johnson plays a lot bigger than he is, Landon. He's not tiny. He's 6'2", but he plays a lot bigger than he is.
Miller drives. Oh, what a move. Brandon Miller
My
up and under and
goodness.
off the glass for 2. Bengals lead 44-34 with 2:46 remaining in this third quarter.
Landon, forget the pull-up three-pointers. Just keep driving it to the rim because every time he does, we benefit. It's fun to watch.
To quote one great Craig Bowlerjack, Houdini. Going the other way. They're going to call a foul here on this play. It's Devashray.
That was a late whistle.
That was a very late whistle. They're going to say Devashray was fouled on the way up. It's all right. He and McKay Johnson make their piece, and Devashray is going to shoot too.
You know, and I think the reason that fans and the coaching staff for Viewmont are a little irate over that whistle is you miss that, you get the defensive rebound, you can finally cut it to single digits again. It's still in the third quarter, so.
Well, if they're going to make a move, they've got to make it pretty quick. It's not crunch timing quite yet, but you would certainly love to go into the fourth quarter only down 5 instead of down 11, which they are right now with this conversion.
Well, you're talking about making up 11 points in an 8-minute quarter. Pretty tall order to do.
Mm-hmm. Devashray is going to shoot 2. We got a couple of substitutions into the game for Brighton. It's Tremaine Nissen. Devashray's second, no good. Jerem Ty with the rebound. He's got some hops.
He does. You can tell he plays with a lot of passion. Again, things haven't worked out for him as well as he would like today, but he's got some energy and some passion. That's for sure.
Passes it off now to Ty, Jerem Ty. Ty is going to look to penetrate. Dishes it off to Johnson. Goes up, gets blocked. It's going to stay here. Nice aggressive move though. Didn't really have the advantage there. Was 2-on-3 in the low block, but nice aggressive move, and they still retain possession.
Just like you said, Lane, aggressive move. Brighton was ready. That's all there is to it.
Now straight away, McKay Richens. It's Jerem Ty. He's going to pull up. Oh, it did everything but go down. Jerem Ty with that shot. 2 minutes remaining in the quarter. It's Devashray. Offensive foul on Devashray. You've got to credit McKay Richens for standing strong and taking the charge. You
know, and such a huge play because that's potentially a 5-point swing. You have the three-pointer that nearly goes down on one end. Could have been a fast break layup and a devastating 5-point swing. Instead, Viewmont gets another shot. But it's been that kind of day for Ty, just almost but not quite.
Hirsch. Kelton Hirsch. The Viewmont Vikings with the ball, brings it across the timeline. Straight away. Goes left side. Now in the post to Ty. He's going to go for a strong move. And they're going to call a foul. Jerem Ty will shoot 2 from the line. Foul called on Osa Messina. That's his second foul. Came into the game a short time ago.
You know, and this is big. They've got Brighton with 14 fouls with still a minute 40 left in the third quarter. Fouls stop the clock. They're chipping away. And if there's one thing Ty can do, it's pull his way to the rim. And maybe he can get himself going that way.
Ty now for the second. It's good. So the Vikings have cut it to single digits. They're down by 9 with a minute 37 remaining, and here comes Zach Bernardo.
Can they win this next minute 30?
And there's a turnover. Ooh. Whistle gets blown. They're going to call a foul on number 24, Austin Johnson. That's his first personal foul. That's a 13th foul on Viewmont. Tremaine Neeson checks out. Back into the game comes Bryce Callahan. Callahan's going to pull up for the three-pointer straight away. Off the rim, Jerem Ty with the rebound. Now ahead, McKay Richens. Richens to Johnson, to Ty, left side. Now straight away, McKay Johnson. Now down back in the post. Comes the double team. Ty puts it off the glass, can't get it. Ball's loose. Bodies flying everywhere. Viewmont gets it back. Johnson goes up and one.
You know, I know that both sides kind of have their own reasons to complain for that loose ball scramble, but I like the no call. Those are just two teams going after the ball, and Viewmont came up with it. Now a chance to cut this to 6. We've got a ball game, Landon.
We do have a ball game, and I agree with you there on it was good that they didn't call that, because Viewmont, trying to get on the fast break, were tripping not over the Viewmont players, they were tripping over themselves. Johnson trying to cut this now down to 6 points, and he gets it to roll in.
You know, I feel like I'm repeating myself, but, you know, can they finish out this quarter? Again, another potentially huge sequence for Viewmont.
Neeson back into the game. Brandon Miller. Ooh, almost the backcourt.
Look at the energy for Viewmont.
They're going to call a foul on Jerem Ty there.
I don't mind that, though. The energy is up for Viewmont. They're playing aggressively. Much more energy than we saw in the first half.
Well, this stage of the game, it's do or die. Win or go home.
It is. It is one and done in these state playoff formats.
Here we go, Zach Randolph. Did I say Zach Randolph? Excuse me. Zach Bernardo.
Watching some Memphis Grizzlies over there, Landon.
Zach Bernardo.
Got the Vikings and the Bengals.
There are no Grizzlies here. Grizzlies highlighted yesterday when they upset Orem.
Oh, what a game that was.
Zach Bernardo holding it near midcourt. 20 seconds left. Now down to 15 seconds. Bernardo to Devashray. He's going to make the move. He's going to go up strong. Misses the bucket. Viewmont with the rebound. Gets the tip. Bernardo's going to pull it for 3. Off the iron. It's still alive. No. And that's the end of the quarter.
Viewmont has to heave a sigh of relief after that one. It was nearly the same thing at the end of the second quarter where they cut it down and Brighton scored to end the half to kind of put a Band-Aid on it. This time Viewmont clearly with the momentum, I would think.
They have cut this down from, what was it, 13 points?
14-point deficit.
It's now only 6, and we are going to be going into this fourth quarter with a berth in the semifinal round on the line. Of course, if the winner of this game will next play Friday at 4:10, they'll face the winner of Davis and Lone Peak. Lone Peak, of course, heavily favored to advance.
You know what? You alluded to this earlier, to this game earlier. Yesterday in the 4A state tournament, rather, there was another heavily favored team, Orem High School, the defending state champs, had nearly everyone back. Logan came out gangbusters and just handed them an upset, the likes of which, we see, but we don't see it often enough to think that it's supposed to happen.
And really there's been some great coverage on DeseretNews.com of that upset, putting it in historical context. Our prep editor, James Edward, put together a very nice piece about the historical significance of that upset, tracing back number one upsets all the way back to the 1970s. Turns out there's only been a couple of overall number one seeds that have been upset in the last 30, 40 years. Great piece. Check that out on DeseretNews.com.
Great piece. James and Brandon Gurney doing some great things for DeseretNews.com on our prep coverage.
Brandon Miller now straight away. Brandon Miller pull-up three-pointer. Air ball. And they're going to call it out of bounds, and it is going to go Viewmont's way. That is not the play you want to run on that possession coming out of the start of the quarter. Not
to start the quarter, not when Viewmont has the momentum. You need to cut that momentum out with precision, kind of take the emotion out of this. Instead, they might be feeding it right here.
Jerem Ty, he has struggled all day long on the block, off the glass, just cannot get it to go down, and now they're going to call a foul on him. That is team foul number 5 with 7:30 remaining. Bengals leading the Vikings by 6 points.
And that's Ty's 4th personal. And, he has the habit of when he shoots and it's a miss, he'll go right up for the second chance point. He will pursue his own shot. It's a great habit, but you have to be aware if you're already boxed out, and that's kind of burned him. He's in foul trouble, and that could hurt.
And he's had a couple of those where he's just gone up strong and gone up a little too strong. Oh, they found Devashray all alone underneath the bucket. Defensive breakdown there for Viewmont.
Callahan with a great pass on that one.
Devashray. Richens. Up top to Butler. Butler looking for the pass, finds Steineke. Kind of been quiet the last couple quarters. Now to Hirsch, looking low, finds Butler. Butler finds Richens. He's going to go strong. Off the glass, no good. Hirsch got a hand on it, but it's going to be a rebound to the Bengals. Here comes Zach Bernardo. Bernardo right side. Probing the defense. Bernardo up top to Nissan. Now left side to Brandon Miller. Crossover. Now he's going to bring it back straight away. He's going to probe the defense. Ooh, nice little move there. Goes up strong. Gets it to fall. Brandon Miller with 2 points. Right there was a great individual effort.
He absorbed the contact, went up strong, finished the bucket. And on this last possession, Ty has had a rough night from the field for Viewmont, but he opens up opportunities for other people, and they're kind of missing that right now.
Butler goes up strong on the penetration, and he's fouled by Zach Bernardo.
Once again,
Viewmont will shoot 2.
Once again, Viewmont doing what needs to be done to hang around. They've let a couple baskets in the paint happen, though, and they can't do that if they want to have a chance to come back in this game. It was a 6-point deficit. Now it's back up to 10.
Oh, they're just going to call it out of bounds. They changed the call. They're not calling the foul. They're calling it out of bounds. Clean strip. Viewmont has to call timeout. They can't get the ball in. Despite this little, I'm feeling a little bit of a momentum here. Viewmont hasn't been able to capitalize on their opportunities and cut this back down. They were only down 6. Now they're down 10 with 6:06 remaining.
Brighton's playing a lot better defense in this fourth quarter. They kind of got lax. Again, like I said earlier, took their foot off the gas pedal in that third quarter. That allowed Viewmont to cut a 14-point lead to 6. But Brighton getting it done with their defense. Their offense isn't what we saw earlier in the game, but they're kind of shutting down this Viewmont team.
6:06 remaining in this game. We've got Brighton 49. Viewmont 39. Now, no matter who wins or who loses in this game, we just want to congratulate all these athletes. Really on a stellar season to just make it to the 5A playoffs. That, in and of itself, in the state where basketball is really, really fine quality, is a challenge in and of itself. And these two teams to make it to the quarterfinal round, no matter who wins, they're both very good basketball teams.
And really, we can talk about the heavyweights. We can talk about the Brightons and the Lone Peaks, but it's also teams like Viewmont that overcome rough stretch of the season. This is a Viewmont team that lost 5 games in a row early in the season after winning their first 3. So they have bounced back enough times to make the state playoffs, and that's something that you have to commend them for.
Ball's into Hirsch. Straight away to Steineke. Steineke looking for Johnson. Can't find him in the high post. Now right side. Straight away to Richens. Now Steineke on the left side. Hirsch to Johnson. McKay Johnson. And they're going to call a foul. They're going to call Brandon Miller for that foul.
You know, there was a foul there, but again, the question is, where is Viewmont going to get its points? They really haven't had anyone step up on a consistent basis in this game. There's been some flashes from different players, but again, who are they going to go to, especially with Jerem Ty on the bench saddled with 4 fouls?
It's interesting you mentioned Ty. I was just going to say that he's been able to get down there and make his move. He just hasn't been able to convert.
But it's opened up. He's opened up. They've been Brighton has been doubling Ty, and it opens up shots for his teammates. It opens up offensive rebounds when he gets a shot.
Brandon Miller can't convert. They're going to call it out of bounds off of McKay Butler, and it's going to stay here for Brighton. Unfortunate there for Hirsch. He has the 1-and-1. Brighton is in the penalty, but he just did not convert that first free throw. And you hate to see 3 points like that just go to waste.
Yep.
Devashri on the quick inbounds. Hook shot, throwing up a prayer, so to speak. But he's going to go. He's going to shoot 2.
Officials calling this a little tighter in the fourth quarter. A few more fouls.
I think they're probably concerned over the physicality in the third quarter. We had bodies flying all over the place there, and Jerem Ty with a couple hard fouls. Got to think they're tightening the screws a little bit.
A little bit.
Miller converts the first. It's Brighton 50, Viewmont 39 with 5:31 remaining. Devashri converts both. Coming the other way now, Hirsch. He's going to go across the timeline left side, moves straight away. He's going to look to penetrate. Stops short, now double teamed. It's McKay, Richens, nice jab step, pull-up jumper, good.
That is a move that you can't make without practicing. That's a big man who's done that and picks his spots on when to actually pull it out in a game. And that's a move that you want to see your big men make.
Ooh. We got a foul call down low on Hirsch. Or excuse me, I didn't see the 1 in front of the 3. That's McKay Johnson on that foul. Brandon Miller, who has been really, really huge for the Bengals today, he's going to go to the line and shoot 2.
You know, we're pretty fortunate. I mean, we've addressed the Lone Peak phenomenon and their stellar team, but there are a lot of teams with some spectacular individuals. I know that Brandon Miller is one of them for Brighton. Westlake's Zavon Jackson is another guy that you almost forget that you're at a high school game because individually these players bring so much to the table athletically in terms of just what to watch for.
Miller misses the second. That gives Brighton an 11-point lead with 4:52 remaining. Jerem Ty back into the game. Pulls up and drains it. Back to single digits. Zach Bernardo going to Callahan. Pull-up jumper, and he just drains it.
No transition defense on that one, Landon.
Transition defense. Kay Johnson going right side. To the corner to Hirsch. Hirsch penetrates, goes up for the layup, can't get it. Bernardo with the rebound, coming the other way. Transition defense. Bernardo, he's going to take it himself. And they're going to call that one on the ground, I think. But at this point, it really doesn't matter because both teams are in the penalty, so he's going to shoot 1.
I really like that possession for Viewmont, though. There was driving kicks, much more aggressive, making the Brighton defense work instead of just kind of passive cuts in a set offense. I wish I'd seen that earlier because right now it looks like time's starting to run out. It's now or never for Viewmont. They're down by 11 with 4:21 remaining.
And Bernardo misses the front end of the 1-and-1 there. Here comes McKay Johnson the other way. You're right, Matt. It is time. Time to make your move. Left side. McKay Richens pulls up. No good. Rebound to Brandon Miller. Miller coming the other way. Callahan pulls up for 3. Off the iron. And there's a rebound put back by Devashri. Travis Devashri.
That's what happens when you get long jumpers. You get a lot of rebounds that kind of fall a different way than they normally would, and offensive rebounders love to feast on those.
Steineke misses the pull-up jumper. Miller gets the rebound, but he steps out of bounds, so it will be Viewmont basketball. Brighton leading by 13 in the final minutes of this one. Viewmont needs to cut this lead back down to single digits in the next minute or so, or it's going to be tough going for them. They're looking at the end of their season. Now the side official has called a foul. Tremaine Neeson called for that one, and McKay Richards is going to shoot 1-1.
It's really impressive what Brighton has done, particularly in region play. They lost one game in the region, and including their victory over Pleasant Grove in the first round, they've won. They've won 12 of their last 13 games. So this is a team on a roll. I know that in the event they meet Lone Peak, Davis could pull off an epic upset. But if they meet Lone Peak, I know Lone Peak would be favored. But this is not a pushover Brighton team.
You've got to think that Brighton is just itching to get back there and try their hand at Lone Peak again in a playoff game after last year.
Well, these two teams played very early in the regular season in non-conference play. It was Lone Peak's first game of the season, and Lone Peak made short work of him. It was a 20-point win, and I was at that game, and it wasn't even that close. But that was when Brighton was kind of struggling, and they're on a roll now. And for me, it's all about when you peak. And right now, Brighton is peaking, in my opinion.
It will, no doubt about it whatsoever. That game against Lone Peak, I don't care who you are, it is a tough matchup to go against the Lone Peak Knights. Jerem Ty takes a seat, and coach of the Vikings sitting Ty here with just about 3:25. Tremaine Neeson gets two.
Davis isn't a pushover either, so we'll see how much of a fight they can give Lone Peak, and if they can do something like what Logan did yesterday to Orem.
Zach Bernardo coming the other way. Bernardo, individual move, tries to go up for the pass. It'll be interesting to see whether they call this a shot or not to give him 1-on-1 of the two shots. And I got to correct myself. It appears as though Jerem Ty actually is fouled out of this game. The coach is not sitting him. He's done. And that hurts Viewmont.
It does. This game looks like it's on the verge of being decided. And, again, Viewmont, they kind of started rough, got things somewhat stabilized in the second quarter, really made their push in the third quarter. But from the get-go in this fourth, it's been all Brighton. Viewmont just never was able to keep up the momentum. But, again, this is a very good Brighton team. And, I love their guard play. Their guys, Miller and Bernardo, they really know how to penetrate, force the issue, and dish out of traffic. They're a very good pair of perimeter players. They're fun to watch.
Bernardo went 1 of 2 on those two shots. Steineke with the jumper, dances around, can't get it. Devashray with the rebound. Bernardo over the top to Devashray, now right side to Miller. They're going to double him way up high. Gets it to Callahan. Bryce Callahan now back to Brandon Miller straight away, and they're going to call a foul right there. It's McKay Johnson's second foul. Brandon Miller will shoot 2. The Bengals are now in the double bonus. That's 10 team fouls for Viewmont. Converts the first. It's now 60-44, 16-point lead with 2:36 remaining. At what point do you just hang it up and say this one's over?
High school head coaches, they don't like to do that very often. The spectators, they're kind of more ready to admit that point than high school coaches are, and for good reason. You don't want to compromise that competitive edge. So I don't sense any towel throwing yet, but this game looks fairly decided. But Viewmont not stopping to make their dent on this game however they can.
Great shot there by McKay Butler. Cuts it to 14 with 2:15 remaining. Miller to Bryce Callahan, down low to Neeson, to Devashray, and one. It was great interior passing by Tremaine Neeson, big man off the bench. Tremaine Neeson is a senior This is his last campaign. He's coming off the bench, and you got to think that he's very, very proud to be a part of this Bengals team.
Yeah, this is a Bengals program that has really done a great job of putting together this identity of winning, and they're aware that there are other teams they have to contend with. They've been up against the American Forks and the Lone Peaks the last couple of years, but they've proven they belong in that elite class. But on Viewmont's side, one thing that I don't think we've done fair justice to the Vikings is this is a young team. They've got a lot of juniors and some sophomores that are going to be back next year, and you figure with the season worth of seasoning, stuff like that is going to happen a lot more often.
McKay Richens with the power, Brad Stafford. Viewmont now emptying their bench a little bit. Brad Stafford with a power move down the lane and one. Senior getting some time off the bench finally.
But again, you look at McKay Johnson, he's a junior. You look at Austin Johnson, who is only a sophomore. So this is a team with a lot of good pieces that aren't going anywhere in the immediate future.
Oh, wow, and there's another and one. Great offensive rebound there by McKay Johnson, and he does it himself, brings it back in there, goes down low, gets the and one. The minute 45 remaining, Viewmont scraping back into this one just a little bit. I don't think they're going to be able to overcome this 13-point deficit, but they are scraping back into this a little bit, and now McKay Johnson with an opportunity to cut it to 12.
We're starting to see the Lone Peak band, I believe, set up to our left. Lone Peak fans have kind of started their own little section. They're sitting down quietly awaiting their team's game.
Now Brandon Miller straight away. They're going to call a timeout. Timeout Brighton. And you're saying the Lone Peak students filing in here, the band beginning to set up. We've got a great matchup for you later today with two teams with a lot of historic supremacy in the state. Davis High School, Lone Peak High School. Lone Peak definitely the newer of the two schools. Lone Peak High School was a school that was founded in the mid to late 90s in Highland, Utah. Took the students from Highland and Alpine, Utah.
Took some students from your alma mater, Landon.
Yes, and my alma mater is actually going to be playing later tonight as well. We've got more games than Lone Peak on this schedule. We've got Syracuse and American Fork. I am a graduate of an American Fork high school. I'm a caveman. And that's
with pride, Landon. With pride.
With pride. Proud to be a caveman. Hoorah. Syracuse and American Fork coming up at 5:50 right after the Lone Peak game. And then Alta and Weber round out our final quarterfinal match of the day.
Keep an eye on that Alta team. That's the team that handed Brighton their only, if I remember right, I want to say that's the only team that handed them a region loss this season. So that Alta team is definitely not one you want to sleep on, even for a number one seed like Weber. Alta can hang with anyone.
They had a pretty nice win against Bingham. It was a very tough matchup, as I understand, but they were able to pull it off. We've got complete coverage of all of the first-round games of the 5A tournament on DeseretNews.com. Great coverage, in-depth reporting, stuff you can't get anywhere else. Check it out. DeseretNews.com. Just click the high school, click the sports link at the top, and then high school in the sub-navigation there. Complete high school coverage of all the high school championships on DeseretNews.com. Zach Bernardo finds Tremaine Neeson all alone under the basket. Now coming the other way, here comes McKay Johnson. Johnson right side pull-up three-pointer off the iron. Brandon Miller's going to, he fell down. They're going to call a jump ball. I don't know about that one. He just tripped.
Again, I think the officials are just trying to make sure that physically this game does not get out of hand. One of the worst things you hate to see is a game that's kind of already decided, but the teams kind of get a little too physical, and it gets a lot uglier than it needs to get in the closing minutes.
Ball's inbounded to Miller right side. Miller.
The two Millers sporting those very high, and it's hard to tell from an angle. I want to say they're socks. I don't know if they're calf sleeves as well, but there is almost no skin showing between the hem of their shorts and their socks.
Brandon Miller goes right side, penetrates, gets fouled.
And Brock Miller, number 3. Those orange shoes are, that's a lot of bingo pride right there.
That is a lot of Hinkle pride. A lot of orange in those shoes. A lot of orange. Brandon Miller is going to shoot 2 free throws here. Both teams in the double bonus now, so for any foul call, carrying out 2 shots. Brandon Miller converts on the first. McKay Johnson coming out of the lineup. 47 seconds remaining. Brighton leading the Vikings of Viewmont 68-55. Miller on the second, and it's good.
You know, I know that the Bengals were favored heading into this game, but this was not a rollover win for the Bengals. Viewmont came in, they gave them a scare, especially in the end of the third quarter. So on the flip side, Brighton has to feel good knowing they're not getting rusty from this game. This was they were in control, but it wasn't just a walkover.
It wasn't a walkover, but you're right. They were in control pretty much the entire time. They jumped out to a quick lead, never surrendered it, held it down the stretch, played tough defense, played some good offense, great shooting, and some spectacular moves by Brandon Miller. Devashray, struggle with that one.
You know, if Lone Peak advances, it'll be interesting to see how many spectacular moves are pulled off between him, Nick Emery, T.J. Haas, and I'm not even to count Eric Mika's dunks, but I'm talking more about the guards and those fancy lamps in the paint.
Brad Stafford with that clutch three-pointer right there. With 31.8 seconds remaining, timeout. Brighton Bengals 69, Viewmont Vikings 58. If you're just joining us in anticipation of the matchup between Lone Peak High School and Davis High School, that's coming up at 4:10. We're in the final seconds actually of a quarterfinal between Brighton High School in Sandy, Utah, and Viewmont High School in Centerville.